Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and another video. This video is going to be kind of long and very chatty, but ultimately what this video is just a discussion about luxury nail polish. The pricing, the quality, is it worth it, why buy it? All of those topics are going to be covered in depth here in this video today. You could probably apply this discussion to anything that is luxury or high-end, but this is a nail channel, so let's apply it to what we know, and that is nail polish. I also want to preface this discussion with something that I almost never do, but I just want to say that because I'm discussing luxury goods and I own some of these goods that I'm going to be showing you, I just want to say this is not meant to be show-offy. This is not meant to promote you guys going out and buying these things. I just wanted to have a discussion about the luxury side of things and my thoughts and feelings on it. And I know that luxury and high-end items can evoke certain feelings in people that, they're not positive, which I don't blame you. And so I just want to say, don't take this as I'm better than you because I own a Christian Louboutin nail polish. No, I'm dumber than you because I bought a Christian Louboutin nail polish. Let's get that out of the way right now, okay? But yeah, this is not a brag video by any means. This is a video about more self-reflection and introspection that's running parallel alongside of just a breakdown of luxury nail polish in general. So if that sounds interesting to you, I hope you guys will stick around because I do have a lot of things that I want to talk to you about. So before we get into actually discussing all my little subtopics, I think that it's important we define our parameters and I explain what I mean when I say luxury and high-end, because both of those words, I think some people use them interchangeably, but I use them specifically. So for the purpose of this video, when I say luxury polish, I'm talking about polishes that are coming from actual luxury fashion houses that are well known, like Christian Dior, Christian Louboutin, Hermes, Chanel, Gucci, those types of fashion houses. That's what I'm talking about. When I say high-end, in my mind, I mean any polish that is over the $15 price point that isn't one of those luxury fashion houses. So Smith & Cult, Jinsoon, that brand London Town Lacquer, Deborah Lippmann, Harry Styles brand Pleasing, things like that. So that's what I mean when I say high-end and what I mean when I say luxury. They both kind of occupy the same space price-wise, but I do think that there are certain stigmas or feelings that surround the actual luxury polishes versus high-end. There are a lot of people who high-end, they're like, oh, that's too rich for my blood, I'd never buy it. And then in the same heart, the same brain, the same feeling, they absolutely are disgusted by luxury polish, even if they're the same price point. So I think that luxury houses do evoke certain feelings from us, and for good reason, I get it. But that is how I define each side. So above all else, I think the most important thing to discuss is the quality of luxury and high-end nail polishes, because I have some from several different brands, and I have some, I have several from specific brands, and the quality is not the same across the board, even under one brand's umbrella. Now that's obviously not uncommon. When you look at a brand like China Glaze, we see some polishes are really good and some of them are just misses. So we see that even in the drugstore, but at the prices we're paying for luxury goods and high-end goods, which is something we'll discuss soon, I think that we expect more from the formulas. We expect a luxury and high-end formula, and I don't think that's wrong. But I also don't think that it's necessarily being delivered. Out of the handful of luxury polishes that I only own 3 that would fall under my own personal definition of luxury. Only one of them would I actually actively reach for, and that would be the Chanel holographic that was a gift to me. This is the only one that I feel performs as expected, performs really well, actually performed better than I expected it to, looked beautiful, lasted a long time on the nails, and I had no issues with, I had no complaints. But the other 2 that I have, one is from Christian Dior. This one chipped in less than 24 hours of wear, and I think it was $35. I can't remember. We'll talk about it more in pricing, but wasn't cheap. And then the Christian Louboutin nail polish, which is literally a weapon. You could really destroy somebody with this. I'm afraid to bend over any table that this is on because I'm afraid it's going right in the eye. But this one, it applies really easily. It applies really well. I really like the applicator, the brush. It's really long, but I find that it starts to bubble. Like it just gets a little bit weird and bubbly and tacky as it dries down. I don't know what it is. But overall, from just what I've seen in my own collection, what I've seen in other people's swatches, the quality of luxury formulas are often either quite sheer, quick to chip, they're a little bit streaky, things like that. And I think the thing that really gets me is just that the bottles are so highly aesthetic. Like this little thing, it's beautiful to me. It just looks so precious. I love it. The bottle, like I just said on the Christian Louboutin one, it's insane. This is just like a piece of art to me. But the aesthetic and the beauty of the outer packaging does not speak to the quality. And I think that's a really hard thing for my personal brain to disconnect. My personal brain, what? Because even though these bottles are great, the quality of the use of these bottles is really obnoxious. Like this is the brush. This is a nub. Like this is really dainty. It's really difficult to use. And while I love the handle on this because the handle makes this very easy to use, again, we have a really nubby brush. I like the shape of this brush, but it is really weird to hold it this close to the brush itself. On one of our more high-end Smith & Colts, again, we have the world's nubbiest brush, and it's not even like that nice of a brush shape. So like 3 of the most beautiful bottles of nail polish I own, notice how they're all reds, I'm psycho. The 3 most beautiful bottles I own are also some of the most difficult or obnoxious to apply solely because their brushes aren't that great. Like I said, the handle aspect on this is really wonderful, but the actual application can be a little bit tricky. The other thing too is a lot of these colors are very easily duped out in the drugstore. I mean, I just showed you 3 very basic reds that cost like $50, $18, and $35, I think, across the board. Do you know how easy it would be to find a Sally Hansen in these exact colors for like $3? And like the Harry Styles Pleasings, I can't even remember how much these cost. They were around 20 bucks a piece, I think, but it's like everybody has this pink. This is an easy pink to dupe out. Now, that's not to say that every color in every fashion house is easily duped out. This particular silver holographic, I feel like is the best silver holographic I've ever owned. It throws the most rainbows. It's really pretty, but I feel like that's an exception to the rule. I think that with high-end brands like Deborah Lippmann and things like that, they do stuff that's a little bit more interesting than just your average fashion house, because a lot of these fashion houses tend to do very plain cream colors. That's kind of just more on brand for them. I think that simple, clean cream colors by Gucci probably sell way better to the clients who shop at Gucci than if they sold something like the Chanel Linear Holographic, or like imagine them selling like a Flaky Bomb. I just can't imagine the average person who shops at Gucci or who could afford to shop at Gucci on a regular basis would be going for a Flaky Bomb. I could be wrong, but I just think that the clientele, the aesthetic of the marketing, it just doesn't suit that. So it makes sense, but at the same time, if you're going to pay $30 for a nail polish, shouldn't it be interesting? And then you have some where it's just like, I bought the Supreme by Pat McGrath collection here, and tell me you don't have all 3 of these colors right now. Tell me you don't. These cost me like $33 per bottle when you break down the price. They are not cheap. I bought this for personal reasons. Like, I'll talk about that later, but it's just the white was one of the worst quality whites I've ever seen. It was like putting white out on your nail. It just thickened up and got goopy really fast. The red and the black were totally fine. They worked really well. Actually, the black looked really good, surprisingly. Usually, you know, you get a super streaky black. Overall, I could have gotten these same 3 polishes at the drugstore for, again, like $3 Sally Hansen's. It's a crazy thing to spend your money on when there are better things out there. So speaking of money, let's talk about the pricing of these polishes. Obviously, one of the biggest deterrents from these luxury polishes is the price point. Whether they're good or bad, it's really the price point. Because a polish could be amazing, but I still would have a hard time paying $20, $30, $40, $50 for one polish, even if it's the best polish in the world, right? I have tons of polishes that are far better within my own collection for a fraction of a fraction of the price of these. A lesson that I've had to learn over and over and over again in my life is that more money does not equal better quality. It's one of those things that it makes sense that it should, but that's just not the case. And these polishes are so expensive compared to what you see on average in the store. The regular Dior polishes are $28. Chanel polishes are $30. Gucci polishes are $32. And of course, the Mac Daddy of them all, Christian Louboutin, this red one, it's $50. It's $50 and it's what? 13 milliliters of polish. And then when you go down a level to the high-end stuff, you know, Smith & Colt, that's 18 bucks a bottle. So is Jinsoon. Deborah Lippmann's are like 20 bucks a piece. And like the pleasing ones, you can really only get in a bundle, but I think that outside of the bundle, they're like 20 bucks a piece because they always sell like one that's not included in the bundle so that you'll buy that one too. This is so unbelievably high. Like I could buy fistfuls of drugstore polishes for the price of just one of these. And it's like, for what? Like, what are you getting out of this? That's me asking myself, Hillary, what are you getting out of this? It's hard to, when you put it in a certain perspective, it's really hard to wrap your head around the idea that a little tiny bottle of just paint that's not even an ounce of paint costs more than what I make in a single hour of work. Like, my wage for 1 hour could not buy me this. Could not buy me this either. Like, it's just, that's a little scary, right? To think that. I don't know. Are you guys like me? Every time I like buy something, I'm like, how many hours did I have to work for this? As for why it costs so much, I mean, part of it is, well, we know it's not the polish, right? Because they're not that good. I think in part, a lot of the cost is the custom bottles. Like when polish makers go to make polish, a lot of them go to a stock catalog or a stockist and they look through their catalog, what they have on offer, and then they buy bulk bottles that are accessible to anybody who's in the same industry. And that's why sometimes we see makers who have bottles that are almost the exact same. They might have different brushes or they might screen print their logo on it, but like other than that, like the bottles are pretty much the same. If you don't want to use the same bottle as everybody else, if you really want your bottle to stick out, of course, then you have to go the custom route. You have to get a custom mold, and that definitely costs more. And when these things cost more, the manufacturer rolls that cost into the sales price so that they are not the ones taking on the cost. That's how you make a profit. It's like business 101. So it makes sense that, you know, the Christian Louboutin, the Dior, the Smith & Colt, it makes sense that these polishes are going to cost a little bit more because you're probably paying in part for these fun and fancy and cute little bottles, which I understand. I mean, that is a huge draw for someone like me. I'm like a magpie personality where something that looks cute, something that looks interesting, something that looks like it's set apart from the crowd instantly draws my eye. I don't think that's abnormal, and I think that's a big reason why you might do custom bottles. But that doesn't account for, you know, the whole price because these are really, really high. You know, Halo Taco, I believe they said that they use custom bottles. They don't sell $30 polishes. So where is the other chunk of change going to? Because like I said earlier, it certainly ain't for the nail polish ingredients. You're paying for the name. It's plain and simple. I mean, big brands, well-known brands, they can get away with upcharging exorbitant amounts just to have their little logo on it. That's why people are willing to pay $30 for a plain black t-shirt that has a little Nike check in the corner because they like that brand. They feel a connection to that brand. And so they're willing to shell out a ton when you could get a similar quality shirt from like a pack of Hanes. So that kind of leads me into my next category, which is, when is it worth it to buy one of these polishes? Or really any luxury good for that matter. I think that's a really deeply personal question, not in like a, that's so private, but it's like one of those things that only you can answer for yourself. I can't tell anybody when these polishes would be worth it to them, if at all, because not everybody is into this kind of stuff. I can't imagine somebody like my father, for example, getting really excited to buy a brand new Louis Vuitton wallet. He is perfectly content with driving into the ground the $30 ones he gets from Kohl's every 3 years. That's just his vibe, and that's cool too. For me personally though, when it's worth it is I really like getting these things for myself as milestone gifts. I like them. And despite me just telling you all the downfalls, all the pitfalls, all the bad things about them, I still like them. And so I still find a way to incorporate them into my life. And you can see, I don't have a ton of them, but I have enough. I have enough to know better. I think these are just like an easy way to get myself something that is a little bit over the top, but it's still at a price point where it's still reasonable for me to spend on myself as a reward. So for example, last year in December, I hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. And for me, that was a cool milestone. That wasn't something that I ever thought I would do. And so I rewarded myself with this little Christian Dior polish. And it shipped in less than 24 hours. And now, if I weren't the type of person that I was, if I weren't like a massive collector and this wasn't already just kind of lumped into that big collection in a way, if I was buying this for the sole reason because I was like, I love this color and I look forward to wearing it constantly, I'd be very disappointed. That would be like a massive bummer. But personally, I bought it because I want to own a polish from every major fashion house. And it was just kind of like, I'll wear it once to see how it is. Not good. And I'm working my way up towards the other fashion houses. But it's one of those things, like I said, it's a slow process because I only want to get them at certain milestones. But where I really don't think this would be worth it is if you were considering only buying luxury nail polishes. I think that maybe for some people that would work, but I think on our side of the nail polish community, I don't think that people would be happy if they swapped over to buying predominantly luxe polishes because, like I said, I like the ones that I have. They're pretty, they're beautiful on display, but they lack the diversity in color and texture and finish that we see in even mainstream brands. Even like, forget the indie brands, because you know, indie brands are always doing that kind of stuff, but like even mainstream brands have more diversity in their finishes and colors than luxe brands. And that's something that I know I personally would miss if for some reason somebody was like, you can only buy luxury nail polishes from this moment going forward, because there's just not as much. The other thing you have to consider when you're talking about is this worth it or not is your own personal budget. Because, you know, sometimes, most of the time, a $30 nail polish is just not in the budget. And that's cool. That's normal, I think, for most of us. I would never, ever encourage somebody to step outside of their financial comfort zone for something as frivolous as paint for your nails. So you're probably like, Hillary, if you just got done rambling at us for God knows how long about why these polishes are not worth it, why do you buy them? Well, I just think they're neat. No, I mean, I think it's a little bit more than that. I think my own personal relationship and feelings about and towards luxury goods and high-end goods comes into play here. Because if you asked me 10 years ago if I thought any of this stuff was worth it, anything from luxury goods, anything from high-end fashion houses and things like that, I would tell you absolutely not. Because you know what? I didn't even know what Louis Vuitton was until I was in college. I had never heard those words together. I didn't know what that was. I had seen girls carrying like the printed bags, and they were probably like knockoffs that they got in New York or something when I was in high school. But like aside from that, I had never really come into contact with luxury goods. I'm literally from a village. Like, everyone laughs when I say this, but I'm literally from a village, a farming village, and life was just a little bit more simple there. That's not a mark against my village. It's just, that's the lifestyle. You know, the most luxurious thing that I ever came into contact with was my mom wears a YSL perfume, and she liked Coach bags. And those were the only two things that were like in my head, like, oh, that's expensive, that's luxury. Then I moved out of my village and I started going to college, and I started dating guys who were from like wealthier backgrounds than me. And that was when I started learning about luxury goods, because their houses were full of them. Their families had tons of them. And I had never really seen stuff like that. And that was really my first exposure to that sort of a thing. Now, I can openly admit that I really do. I like these things. I love going into the Gucci store and seeing what crazy new stuff they're coming out with. I like looking at the Louis Vuitton store and the jewelry at Tiffany's and things like that. It's fun to go in and just look at these things. But I also understand that the pricing is stupid. It's absurd, and it's really dumb to buy anything outside of your means that is not an immediate necessity, you know? And I get that, you know? It's hard because I feel like we're bombarded constantly with influencers and celebrities who have all of these things, and they show off all these nice bags and these cars, and it's hard to kind of not say, why can't I have that? Why can't I afford that? But like half the time, you know what? It's fake, it's rented, it's not real. You have to take a step back and say, does my bank account accommodate this Gucci bag? No. Maybe next time. Maybe never. But yeah, I have a really weird dual-ended relationship with this kind of stuff because it's like, I know this is silly, and I know a lot of people will be like, why would you pay for that? That's really stupid. And I agree, it is. But at the same time, it made me happy, and it still makes me happy, and I do enjoy having this thing. And it didn't break the bank. It was something that I could afford. I was well within my means, and I was happy when I got it, and I'm happy now. Do I sound like I'm trying to convince people? I'm not. There's a really weird feeling of being like, I like luxury goods, because I feel like a lot of people just look down on you for saying that. But I'll fully admit, you know, I like them. I know they're expensive, and that's that. You know, the pricing is high, but sometimes it just feels good to splurge a little bit on yourself. And when the things that are in my price range are the nail polish and the makeup, you know, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to splurge a little bit, make myself feel good, and end up with something that looks like this. But yeah, I mean, it's not that deep. I just like the stuff because it's pretty and I like it. And you have to kind of assess your own life and decide if that's right for you or not. But from a quality standpoint, still, absolutely not. No, they're not worth it from a quality standpoint. So that's where I stand on that. But yeah, that's kind of the brain stew that's been brewing in my mind for a little while. I've been thinking about this because nobody's ever really asked me about it, but sometimes I just think about it. It's just something that I like to think about and like introspect and self-reflect on things that I like and enjoy, and like, why do I like them, and is it a problem to like these things, or is it okay, or whatever? I don't know. I'm just constantly assessing everything that I do because I'm always afraid I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. But yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. I hope that you guys found that somewhat interesting. I tried to put my thoughts into like a cohesive, not an essay, but just like, you know, a sequential thought order. But yeah, let me know down below if you've ever purchased from like a luxury, either nail polish, makeup, anything like that. Let me know if you've purchased from one of those brands or a high-end brand even, and if you absolutely loved it or if you were super disappointed, and what your thoughts are on like the quality and the pricing and all that. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.